Yes, this is another podcast, and I'm your co-host, Moma, and my
Rude boy.
yes. So we're back again, bringing you the information that you lot need to hear in a digestible and absorbent format.
Oh, you just bragging me.
I'm letting it sail through with the accent, innit? When you got accent, you could get away with a few mishaps, innit?
I
Yeah.
think you've been spunking too many lizards lately, man.
I need to hit the books a little bit more, man.
Yes,
Yeah.
podcast number.
I think it's 14 now. I think we did 13 last time, so I think we're on number 14, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been going,
Shout
man.
out to all our international listeners. We just got a report of, I guess, people listening all over the world. I think last time we shouted out a brother in Australia. There's some guys in South Korea. Well, I think we know who's in South Korea, don't we?
Yes, we do.
And shout out to him. Was it Switzerland, Colombia? Quite
There,
a few
there,
listeners in the UK. Shout out to the London Massive. Anybody you'd like to shout out to?
man, I'm not sure. I shout out all of London. I mean, I'm not a North London guy, but I've never been locked down to territory, so I would not exclude by any means. I'm from the South, but definitely any parts, London, England, wherever, all are welcome. I'm non-territorial, so shout out to all the listeners and throw down your comments and so on and so forth and suggestions, and we'll be happy to incorporate that as possible.
Yeah, and also too, we're trying to get. I guess Momo, you're trying to get, or I guess this is a call out to anybody in the UK. We'd like to get an update on the social scene there, and we'd love to talk to someone from the old country.
Yeah. So you lot listening, come on and give us that look, what I'm saying, even if it's from a secondary perspective as opposed to a primary perspective, because I can definitely patch in the pieces, and I plug into the UK through other portals and other means. So from my observation, the UK really is not it's not changed that much where what I'm saying, I feel that what I knew before is totally inapplicable. And my take on things is that in terms of game, North America is advanced, as in the lizards are more demanding in North America than they are there. So you need more to get less here. So by the time you've facilitated or enabled yourself to meet that demand, going back to the UK, it can only be easier. That one I could stand behind absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I think a lot of people on both sides of the Atlantic they don't understand that. And this is no disrespect to anybody, but guys in the UK generally don't have to try as hard. To your point, it just comes, as you would say, more organically. You meet girls, and everybody takes the subway, everybody takes the tube. Rich, poor, old, and people. Public transport's a big part of the London infrastructure. So you meet girls on the street, you meet girls in the mall, and winter, summer, spring, or fall, or autumn, whatever you like to call it. So it's a different setup, and it's more conducive to social activity, I find.
I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I haven't spoken to you. I guess what you've been busy. Tell us about your last couple of weeks or last 2 weeks. Anything special? Any new discoveries? I think you're telling me you went out about, was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I went out and I made it I decided to make it a white affair. In
In the war, right?
Meaning that I decided to span out a little bit and actually try to talk to mainly white lizards as opposed to black lizards. Because I've
What?
yeah,
Since when?
I just thought let me mix it up because we've been talking a lot on this, and I think it's one-sided to talk about one thing or one. I personally feel that it's one-sided to talk about any specific group, whether one only talks about white lizards or one only talks about black lizards. So I'm trying to mix it up so that I can give a more rounded viewpoint on the market at place. So I decided to do it. Went out, spoke to, tried to open got a few conversations going, but they weren't really strong conversations. So didn't really bounce to another venue. Just kind of stayed there. It was trying to think of the example. It's like a bar, but you've got a patio area, and there's no cover there. And there was a few a fair amount of dudes this time, I'd say. But where I'm at, they don't really open. Like you don't really see them approaching like that. So I don't feel that they numb the lizards, or they burn out any leads. But I didn't get any results. But I did use an opener that I thought was pretty good, which is not my own, and believe the listener. I've mentioned it before, but blatantly pirated his this particular opener because I feel it's good, and I I would call it somewhat of a neg, but I'm not really familiar with these terms. So I would call it a neg, but I'm not sure if it's a neg. But it's basically you just get the lizard, you ask her to get you a drink. So I came up to a lizard. I saw one. Was she blonde? Blonde, maybe 5'9", taller in heels, of course. So maybe 5'9", 5'11" in heels, or 5'8", 5'10" in heels, something like that. So I came up to her, and she was with her friend who was a little shorter, and I leaned in. And I said, yeah, yeah, get me a Bacardi and Coke, yeah. And she turned around and looked at me like, what? And her friend looked at me and was like, what? I can't believe what I heard. And I was like, yeah, 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 get me a Bacardi and Coke, innit? And you're looking at me, she's like, oh, well, the bar's actually that way. You know what I mean? So, but they didn't say it in that way. It wasn't in a like, get out of my face. It was more like, it was a polite. It was polite. It was just like,
Were they smiling? Were they laughing?
yeah, it was a kind of, an expression of, wow, I can't believe that happened, but not a like, I can't believe the audacity, but a wow, like Twilight Zone wow kind of thing. So
Okay.
it's a good icebreaker. So that's one I've been, because I don't have lines, I don't have setups. I just kind of come in and just start talking, and they're like, "Oh, are you from, England or so on and so
Yeah.
forth," and that's where I spin off from. So I don't really have any clever little, North American openings. So that's one that I've.
Were they local lizards?
One was, there's a lot of transplants where I'm at, so they may have been from. They usually often come from the Midwest, and they settle down here. One said she was local, and the other one said she was from like maybe an hour and a half away, but she's there on the weekend or something like that. So
Okay.
yeah, so that was my take on it. But it's always good to go out. I mean, I've got my regulars, so it's not like I'm starving. Maybe I should be a little bit starving. It might influence my results. But I guess it's good to go out and see the market instead of just speculate from an online perspective perpetually. So that's
You
kind of
do
how I
like
do.
soap, you said, correct?
Yes,
Uh, Hats off to you on that, eh?
yeah, gotta do it, man.
Got to be done, eh?
It's got to be done, man. Sometimes you just have to do it. But yeah, welcome. I welcome, others who want to roll. I'm happy rolling in a group, but solo. You still have to do what you have to do. Sometimes that's pretty much the bottom line.
For sure, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I got to get down there, and always liked your part of the woods there. Been there on business a few times, and yeah, definitely I don't know if it's the weather, but it's more open vibe down there in Florida.
Yeah, and it depends where you're at, because if you go a little further south, that's where I just find that it gets silly. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if I could say the weather. Well, yes, the weather lends to it, but definitely the demographic also adds to it as well. So
Sure.
it's a
When,
mixture. It's a mixture.
when you say silly, silly good or silly bad?
Bad, bad, silly. You know about Miami, like my
Oh no, I
yeah,
don't
Miami.
want them.
And if you read anything about anyone from Miami gets this, it's almost if I say sardonic, there's I don't want to say pessimistic, but there's a finality to the way they talk about anything. That they view lizards as a very very distrustful entity. Like they've seen the worst of it. And because of that, when you see, even though they get it, to get it, they have to become a certain something. And I don't know if that's necessarily good because not everyone is a certain way. You know what I'm saying? It's good to encounter assholes, I guess, because you never know. But it's not good. It's also good to encounter good people. So if you encounter too much of something, I don't think that that's a good thing. And if you encounter nothing but assholes and you conquer assholes, it's almost like you've got to be the bigger asshole to conquer them. And after that, your view on everything becomes very pessimistic, I'd say. If someone says, "Oh, so and so is inviting us," Marcy and Stacy said we can go and their condos open, the pessimists will be like, what are they up to? And sometimes people just being nice. You know what I'm saying? So that's the drawback with dealing with those type of people.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, it's been about I think about poof. I think it's about 15 years since I went down there, and it was one of those eye opener trips. And um, yeah, I won't bore you with the details, but yeah, you saw fat guys with stunners, and obviously they had money, and it's a very it's not for the faint at heart, right? So, and even back then, I remember it was somewhat expensive on Ocean Drive. Some of those restaurants were like, wow, you know what I mean? So I can't imagine how it is now. But yeah, maybe one of these days I'll get back down there. But again, not probably not on my top 20 list. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think the deal with tackling there is to focus exclusively on tourists. Like
Okay.
dealing with a local, your I mean, you can. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just if your game is tight and you can floss that, or you're exceptionally good look or something. I don't know. I can't speak for what it takes. If you've just got that type of game, you can always try it because you can always try local. And if you're bombing out, just find someone who isn't. Because any day of the week there, you're gonna find a tourist. And to be honest, a lot of my success there, just that my logistics were very bad and I didn't have my own transport. So, but I went a long way with tourists. Like I think I mentioned before, I met a brunette from Germany, which was pretty much in the bag, made out with some, what do you call them, pinays from Montreal.
Yeah.
Made out
Southern,
with, yeah,
yeah.
Filipinos. Yeah, a group of Filipinos that's down there for fun. So was making out on the beach. One Brad was with. Beat one in the ocean. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, nah, I can't. I didn't have preparation for that. But I'm just saying to explain where
Yeah.
my success was at. So with that, and then this. white lizard that was from Colorado that, was leaning in, and I was talking to him, we're dancing, and she leaned in and kissed me. So she was there and looking just for a fun weekend, and maybe she was married. I don't even know, to be honest, blood. You know what I'm
Maybe
saying?
she thought.
I'm
Maybe she thought you're Kobe Bryant or something.
Who knows? Yeah, because some of them, what I'm saying, they come there and it's like, it's one of those places where they say, it's kind of like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but it can be
Yes,
extended to that place because it's really a beautiful looking place. You know what I'm saying? You look at,
it
you're
is.
there and you look on the ocean. I'm like, there's no reason to go Caribbean because you're getting the same thing. You're in the Caribbean. Cuba's what?
Definitely.
Cuba. If you had your own, your if the laws between the U.S. and Cuba were on point, you could go out there on your yacht. You get there in a few hours, casually, and that's the
Definitely.
Caribbean. Jamaica ain't far. Um,
Yeah,
Dominican Republic ain't far. You know what I'm saying? So you're technically in the Caribbean, and the Caribbean is beautiful.
definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So that's just how it goes. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, so I guess you're fully aware that I guess was it this week? Well, not this weekend. The weekend before we had, I guess, Roosh V. That's where we met. Roosh V was in town closing up his world tour event, and there was a lot of scandal once he hit Canada. Unfortunately, the his name was on the national press, and I guess one of our questions from our man Source Code was kind of wondering what our perspective was of this Roush Canadian Montreal Toronto debacle. I don't know if you have any opinions on that. I mean, I did attend the event. It was a pretty good show. I mean, an hour and a half, and hit all the key points that I think most of us know about what's wrong with today's society and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a good show. Good to see Roosh again. I met him a few times. About the third time I met him, and it's kind of like meeting up with an old friend. And we promised to meet up soon. But anyways, yeah. Our man Source Code had a question. I guess the hype is wondering if it was real. What are your thoughts on the whole Roosh Toronto Montreal debacle?
I mean, I think his message is it's important to all races. It's not limited to any race. It's more, the plight of a heterosexual male in North America and possibly the world because North America sets the trends and then these things just start to trickle because you'll start to hear the same gibberish in Europe slowly. I always say that England is about 5 years behind in terms of picking up some of the nonsense that originates here. So eventually you're going to hear people saying stuff that don't even make sense. It's not really applicable to their plight. So what he says gives you the awareness because if you don't let it go, and to give you an example, women in Britain are becoming overweight. You know what I'm saying? They never used to be. I mean, America's always been fat land.
Yeah,
Toronto's is slowly it's knocking on their heels. The rest of
to be
Canada,
it's not even slowly. To be honest with you, I was out and about this week, and there was a point where I almost felt like taking out my smartphone and taking pictures. The obesity is just coming hard. I mean, like, and the frightening thing is that these girls have men. You know what I mean? They have men that aren't as fat as them, right? So it's coming. I mean, it's yeah. You said slowly. I would tend to disagree. I think it's coming fast. But yeah, back to your point. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, as I said, it's I'm trying to use diplomatic terms to stay. I don't want to say it's the same because I've seen some monsters over here, and I'm in some of the fatter parts of America. Definitely New York, there was slimmer, just from a glance, from what I'm seeing, because a whole some of the thing behind what I'm saying, lizards get into that way is that if they don't feel they have to step their game up for the men, because there's a lot of places they don't want to look like that because society will say no, you're not attractive, I'm putting you to the back. But when it's now, oh, you can be any size you want, big is beautiful, rare, 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 a lot of lizards will become huge and then claim that they're voluptuous. And it's like, you've just bastardized that term. Because I like voluptuous, don't get me wrong, but you know what I'm saying? You can't be 300 and something pounds and you're 5'6" and voluptuous. I mean, if you can, it can happen, but still, you know what I'm saying? And the ones that you usually see, they're just a round ball. They look like a small planet. You know what I'm saying? But yet they're claiming these terms. You know, and it's being supplicated, or it's being supported by, the society, because now it's almost offensive, or it's almost to a point where it seems like you can get arrested for saying someone is fat. It's come to that
True.
point, like that term is now a
True.
curse word, so now you have to say they're fluffy or they're big, bullshit like that term. It's the first time I came there and someone said fluffy, and I was just like, this is a little too much. You know what I'm saying? So the
Yeah.
point I'm making is that when the mentality gets to that point, people just let themselves go. You know what I'm
Definitely.
saying? They just let themselves go, and it's spreading to places. So Roosh and what he's preaches is forced, or it's encouraging people to have standards, because it's
Yeah.
spreading to all communities. All that stuff they say, oh, the white lizard or the privileged white lizard. I deal almost exclusively with black lizards, and you hear that kind of crap. You know what I'm saying? You see them and you just look and you think, I'm in the and they're asking for men who are to be ripped with swollen chest, six pack, and this and that. And they don't do nothing. They just
True.
eat this and that. And I'm just thinking, where if you know what I'm saying? What are you bringing to the table? You can't just have a wet poem, and sometimes the poem ain't even that wet. You know what I'm saying? So you didn't bring nothing. You're just there,
Yeah.
just on basis of your XY chromosome, and then that's it. And yet me, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying me, or one, as a male, is utilizing everything in his knowledge in terms of science and pushing his genetics to the utmost peak. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Preparing his mind, traveling, learning different things, and so on and so forth, just to meet that. You know what I mean? So I think that talk is important for all. You know what I'm saying? That talk of empowering. I don't use the term empowering, just being aware. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's standards out there, and as you travel, you realize there's stuff out there, and you don't settle. It's the same as a job. I always compare it to a job. If you know another place is hiring, or if you know your value, if you've
Yeah.
gone to a job conference and they're like, "Oh, you live where? Okay. Let me see your qualifications. You know what? I'll give you 80K, and you go somewhere and they're like 35K is all I can offer." You'll be thinking to yourself, I know for a fact that I've been
True.
offered 80K for what I've got, and I just showed up. I didn't even do the interview, and they were like, "We will start you with 80K," and you're here with 35. You're gonna feel
Definitely.
it's a kind of way, and sometimes you'll be like, you know what? I'm not even gonna bother to apply for for
Definitely.
that you're offering. So it's the same concept. That you go somewhere, you see a value, you see lizards that are young, that are doing everything to meet your demand, and you have something old with
Yeah.
kids, heavy,
Yeah.
trying to ask for, you know what I'm saying, the sun, the moon, and the stars.
Yeah.
You,
Over 35.
Y-
Blah blah blah.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like, come on now, you know what I'm saying? So that's
True.
why those things are important, because the key problem in these places is not the lizards, it's the men. Once the men fix up, the lizards have to follow suit because they
Definitely.
need the men. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Men, you know what I'm saying, men are the ones who run, and I'm not using saying this in no misogynistic sense, but I found that
Yeah.
there's before, maybe some might say, oh, these men are too or women are nothing. But then you have the opposite where you now have women who are now putting down men. You know what I'm saying? They're like misandrous, men hating. So the man is stupid, the man is this, the man is that. But everything they drive, every infrastructure that they go into was designed by a man. It was put together by a man. You know what I'm saying? So how stupid can this man be? So we're talking about balance here. So everyone's got to play their part. And I think that the balance has gone too far in certain places, in certain cities, such as Toronto. I've not been to DC, but the same. It's gone too far in terms of where the woman is at, and it's messing things up. And it's because the men have not put their foot down and said, you know what, nah, I'm not having that. You got to be slim or bounce, and you got to be able
Wow.
to cook. You got to be able to be feminine or just bounce. I don't need you. And I think that's what he's trying to do, and that goes across the board. What's your take? Because you actually went, so I didn't listen to his lecture. I don't think he's posted it up on the
No,
internet
he
yet. So
hasn't.
what? So what have you? What did you take from
Well,
it?
funny enough, he was saying what you just finished talking about is exactly what he was talking about. What's he calling it? Neo masculinity and pro male. And he was, I don't want to give away too much, but he was just saying that transsexuals, homosexuals, and women have more rights than a heterosexual male. And he was just saying, the points that you touched on beautifully. He was just talking about that, but and then he made an interesting comment that in terms of white girls in, I guess, these countries, and he kind of made a comment about how black men are more in tune with these girls as opposed to, I guess, how dangerous they can be, right? White girls, I think,
Black men are more in tune with which girls?
with the white girls, meaning they're, these girls, you got to be careful with these white girls who you're dealing with, right? They might be quick to, call, what's it, call rape or call whatever. But he just made that comment. I guess maybe he's been speaking to some guys. I've never really come across that, but I tend to screen girls pretty heavily before I deal with them. I don't jump in with both of my feet there. So, but the big thing, I guess, there was a lot of dudes came up from the states. Two young guys I met actually flew up from Louisiana, and I was just like, wow, I was, astounded that these guys would fly. College kids would fly all the way from Louisiana to Toronto just to see Roosh and hear him speak. One guy drove up from Kentucky. A couple of guys came from DC, and a couple of guys have been to other shows: Montreal, DC, New York. So yeah, quite a huge following there, and a lot of guys had only just heard about Roosh due to the national TV exposure. They heard about a week before, and they decided to come to the event. So he was carefully screened. He only had about 60 guys there, but he said he could have easily had 120 guys there. He just didn't want, his the location of the event was sort of cloak and dagger CIA operation, where we had to meet in a park, and then we had to get our envelope and head to the facility, and there was security there. And I actually sat at the back of the room, and I kind of expected, I kept looking at the back door thinking that maybe the police or the media would just bust through the door, but it went, with success. And the big thing, there was guys there of all ages. There were young guys, white guys, Indian guys, Chinese guys, old, young, tall, short, skinny, fat, and every demographic was covered. And a lot of guys, I guess the sad thing for me is you see a lot of young guys that obviously they're experiencing some frustration, right? And what Roosh talks about resonates with them, right? So
Yeah, it's gotten, it's gotten worse. And if you date young lizards in certain areas, there's a lot of nonsense that one has to put up with. You've got this smartphone era, and a lot of lizards are just online. You're just validated through this smartphone or these online applications such as Facebook. So it must be quite frustrating. These guys are forced to supplicate and dance the dance, through the ropes of Facebook and all that kind of stuff, or these apps and the smartphone. So for some, it's frustrating because you know whether they want a decent lizard or they kind of want to keep it casual and free. It just seems they've got to go through a lot. Because I know I've dealt with different ranges. My only thing is that if I deal with someone they're wasting time, I just blank them out because I'm kind of dealing with an abundance mentality, and I'm unable to fit into the shapes that they want. I can't dance to those dances, so I will opt out. Maybe because I know different, because I was not born into that era. So once you know different, you can never feel that that's all you've got. Whereas those who are born into, until they hear people like Roush and so on and so forth, until they see that there's another avenue, that's all they know, and it can be frustrating. So I definitely see where they're coming from.
Yeah, and I mean that goes back to our first podcast where we were, again, it seems a reoccurring theme. We were saying, especially the Black American male or the Black Canadian male, just go to some of these places off the beaten track. And I've had wonderful experiences in my travel. Never, I can't even think of a negative experience I've had, and where lizards that probably wouldn't come too easy in my own city, but they're more than willing to listen to me and ask me questions, and they're looking at me like Jesus Christ born again, right? So you know what I mean. So again, when people come and they say, oh well, this and that, and I guess like you said, we have that mindset, that abundance mindset. And I mean, come on, we're on a planet, what, how many people? 7 billion people. I mean, we've got continents that haven't been discovered, I mean, by guys like us. I'm talking Africa and places like Latin America, and there's so many places. It's just finding the time, finding the money, and trying to get there as many times as possible. Or even, I guess we're at the stage now we want to spend a month in these places and see what it has to offer, right?
Yeah, get to the point where you just, you become independent. I mean, we're now in the information era, so the brick and mortar establishments are now becoming, I guess, a way of the past, because you check in online and most places have an internet connection. So there's a lot of people that just do their work remotely because you don't need to see a person face to face. You don't need to touch them in flesh. You can Skype them. There's a commercial that I saw that was quite amusing. These college guys were doing a group interview with a company, and they had a Skype thing going on. And when it finished, you saw them, and all they had on was a shirt and tie. From their waist down, they were wearing boxer shorts and socks, because all you need to do is see their upper part. So the point I'm making is that you can do this anywhere in the world. You could be in Peru, you could be in the Gambia, you could be in Ukraine. It doesn't matter, because of the internet. So because of that, you know what I'm saying, people can now spend extended periods of time in these countries and really just sample, the local life. It's not like it was before, where you had to clock in to a specific location. As long as you submit whatever work you've got to submit, you can be anywhere in the world. And there's a lot of guys that we know, they're actually doing that.
Yep.
They're actually
Yep.
doing that. So that's the way. This is the new generation. So those people who are born into that smartphone, ADD lizard just looking in the smartphone, coding and all that should be, I won't say it should be, but it's more likely to be second nature for them than those guys that are born in the era where man had to go library, pull out the encyclopedia, pull out encyclopedia volume 8 to find out information on this, and that's dependent on if that encyclopedia is up to date. Now you just
Yeah.
hit Google and people updating Google while you're sleeping. So the point I'm making is that you're born into this information era. So utilize it. Learn, throw up a web page for some of the oldies, whatever, code for them, submit articles, something, something, and yeah, and you get paid electronically. Do your thing. Go to places where all you gotta do is really show up and not be a madman. Even if you're a madman, you still get lizards.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Agreed.
Yes, sir.
Agreed. Yeah, I got another question from our main man, West Indian Archie. Archie, we hope to have you back on here pretty soon once the summer months are over and we settle down. We're just enjoying the summer right now in answer to your question. So, yeah, I guess Archie has two questions. The first question is black lizards worldwide. I guess he ran into a bad black chip in Tokyo, and he's wondering about how and where to find sisters in other spots, and if we have any experience with that. So, I mean, in terms of black lizards worldwide, you've got a bit of traveling. You've been on about three different continents. Any thoughts on that,
Where to find them?
or no? Just I guess I think he was asking, yeah, where to find them. I think someone was also asking what our experiences have been with black lizards from different regions.
Um, where to find them? I think I don't know. I don't know if there's any specific place. I just you're gonna see a black person worldwide, and you can ask them. That's what I usually do. I see a person. I ask them, hey, where they're at. There's no. I don't have a specific method, and if I see a black person, he's gonna know, or she's gonna know. Um, So that would be the method of doing it. In terms of experience, there's a few different types of lizards in the world. There's a lizard with the American mentality, and the reason they've got the American mentality is because they're American. So those would be a black American lizard. And then you've got lizards that in Europe, if they're in Europe, they're gonna have the mentality of the base is gonna be the mentality of the country that their parents are originally from. So Europe, depending where it is, mainland Europe usually is gonna have a lot of Africans. I think that the Caribbean, I'm speculating on the thing because you've got French speaking Caribbean such as Haiti, Martinique, Guadeloupe that you may very well see in countries like Belgium, France, and Switzerland because they speak French in Switzerland. So you're probably going to get them there, but you're going to get other types of African lizards, and their mentality is going to be. It's going to spawn from there, but sometimes they move off a little differently. So they're
Yeah, they're a bit more open-minded, aren't they?
okay. When you say open-minded, more open-minded than whom?
I would say then the black lizards this side, and I think from my experience, places like Belgium has a lot of Africans as opposed to Caribbeans. So there's a lot of what the Congo people. France has a lot of more Africans and Caribbean, and then some of those other places. I mean, I've actually seen a few girls that are mixed in places such as Germany. Obviously, there's a lot of mixed girls there of African descent. Some, I guess, American GIs back in the day knocked up a few girls in Germany, so you see a few of those. And I've actually seen some girls in Romania look kind of sexy, which they have. I think one girl I know, she's father's from, is it Benin? Is it Benin?
Yeah, Benin.
And he knocked up some Romanian girl, woman, I should say. They have about four kids, and all very attractive looking. So I think Africans have been running through Europe or more places than I guess the other Caribbeans and the Americans, right?
Yeah, the Africans kind of, I guess they spread. It's bigger and it's closer.
Yes.
So that proximity plays a big part. So I think size and proximity to get to Europe from Africa is really, you know what I'm saying? I mean, for me to fly to Nigeria was only was it 5 hours? Yeah, about 5 hours. And that's nothing. That's like going to Montreal from Toronto. So a 5 hour flight is nothing as opposed to flying from here to there, which is at least 10 hours to hit the West Coast. 10 hours straight minimum. And some people like, you know what, 10 is too long. I'm not on that. You know what I'm saying? But 5 is doable. So proximity makes a difference. So because of that, yeah. African lizard, I think, yeah, I'd say they're more open minded. They may, I think often if they find that that one is African, they may have a certain viewpoint because the fear with that is that it's going to get back to the community, and no lizard wants to be taboo, or they don't want to be shunned out by the community saying, oh, how could you do it with this guy? Because if they do it with someone who is not African, it's really not going to spread back, because unfortunately some people can't beat and keep their mouth shut. They're gonna say, "Oh, I did it with that one," and it spreads like Wi-Fi, and
Absolutely.
that's it. So based on that, it may be difficult for those who are of African descent unless they know how to disguise it. But for
Sure.
those who are West Indian or Black American, if you come to them on a level, which most of the guys who posted the question do, and don't get incensed when there's a stereotypical statement made about America, because a lot of people will have these assumptions based on American media, and you can't always blame them for that. You just kind of understand it and smile and say, no, that's not true. You probably
Yeah.
get a good result. So if they say, oh, you Americans always this and that, you kind of smile and say, well, no, that's not really. But a lot of people get emotional, and then they just shut the whole system down. You know what I'm saying? They shut themselves out of it. So I would say it's easier.
Let me ask you a question, though. Let me get straight to the point. Let me ask you a question. What's your favorite black lizards? Where would they be from?
Let me think. I'm thinking. I'm thinking. I'm thinking.
Oh, man. The motherland, not Nigeria? No?
Nah, you know what?
For me, I have a soft spot for my UK black girls. I just find I vibe with them. I think, and again, I'm generalizing here, but I've had some real good experiences with them. Um, yeah, they're just to be chill, from my experience, as opposed to, like you said, these other ones are probably on this side a bit more Americanized, and not all. Again, we're generalizing here, but the materialism, and what do you got and what can you bring to the table, and what kind of job you have, all this. And whereas the UK ones, I mean, I know there's problems all over, but from my experience, I just find I vibe with them better, right? So,
Well, the thing is that when you're different to them, so to them you're American, whether you, because no one, Canada doesn't mean anything outside of Canada, unfortunately.
yeah,
If you say Can, unless they've got a relative there and they've been there,
yeah,
they can't distinguish a Canadian from an American. So your best thing
absolutely,
is just to roll with, and this. If you say you're American, it doesn't make a difference because
yeah,
it's almost the same. So because you're different,
yeah,
they're drawn to you the same way I'm different here, so I'm
yeah,
really having good success over here.
yeah,
um,
true,
but now I've broken them into stages because I'm more looking on the physical sense as opposed to the whole standpoint, because from a whole standpoint some of the mentality that I experience can be a bit silly, and I'm being light, when I say silly, like they're just things that views that they'll have that I think is nonsense. So I try not to take those views on board, and I just compartmentalize them into just the physical sense. until they can prove otherwise. So that's really how I've been looking at things for now. So if you look at that, I'd actually say I actually West Indian lizards and American lizards are really my favorite, to be honest. Because African lizards have really not had that much success. Because once they find out I'm from the big bad Nigeria, there's this alert system that goes up for them, you know what I'm saying,
Oh wow.
and that's a country you either love or you hate. It's not a neutral country. Like some people are like, I've been out with my friend and this lizard's like, oh, if you're Nigerian, don't talk to me.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, this was in
Oh gosh.
the Afrofest in Toronto. Few, I think
Okay.
they were from Kenya or somewhere in East Africa. But there's a whole group of
Yeah.
them. They're like, oh, blah blah. Are you African? I said it depends. Why? Why? I said, where you lot from? They said, if you're Nigerian, don't talk to me. I said, oh, what's wrong with Nigerians? They said, oh, blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? So the point I'm making
Yeah.
is that I've not really had that level of success, and because of where I grew up in the UK, which you very well know, I seem to flow better with West Indian lizards. You know what I'm saying? So that's just it for me. That's where my bulk has
Yeah.
been. And now in America, it's just black Americans. So those are my favorites so far. I mean, Latin black lizards. I don't live in those areas. Not gone to those spots. So I don't have that great experience in them. I've done a few DR lizards, of course, and they seem cool, but I can't really speak to that in a level. So that's my answer to that.
Yeah. Agree. Latin American black lizards look very appealing to me. I guess I've done the DR Cuba thing, and they always received well. But again, there could be other factors in play. But you mentioned there was an Afro Fest, and I noticed you mentioned you were talking about was you went to Afro Punk? Is it? Is that right?
Yes, I
Punk
did.
tour?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like I guess in answer to Archie's question, festivals. You're down with the festivals like Caravana and all these kind of festivals. Carnival in Notting Hill. You've been a few carnivals in the UK as well, right?
Yeah, I did Notting Hill. Notting Hill is actually this weekend in the UK. The Juve is. I got some additional information. So the Juve is Saturday. The kid carnival Sunday and the adults on Monday, but their carnival is definitely this weekend. So a lot of people are amping up towards that. But to answer your question, I went carnival pretty much every year that I was in the UK. I went there, you know what I'm saying? Because you could always get something, you know what I'm saying? You might get some Americans that have heard about it and want to see how the Brits do it. You could get those from Europe. And some people, someone said it's the second biggest carnival in the world, which I found a bit. I was like, really? But I don't know. Some people just bulk up their stats, but they said that the London Notting Hill Carnival is the second biggest in the world. Obviously, the biggest one is the Brazil one. So
Yeah.
I,
The Trinidad one.
yeah, because I was thinking that. I said Trinidad's one's pretty big. You know what I'm saying? From what I've heard, I've not been to Trinidad for the carnival, but that's what I heard. But yeah, there's a lot of people that go to the London one, but I went every year. I like festivals like that because it's more of a relaxed vibe. Like the club scene is it's high energy. It's look at me. It's I'm the man, and I'm not really. I'm more of a laid back gamer. Like I kind of chill and I snipe, but I don't just
Yeah.
come in. And I don't know if it'll ever change because I don't take pharmaceutical assistance that just turns me into this. You know what I'm saying? El Loco, and
Sure.
it's not my nature naturally. So I kind of just chill. I don't know. I don't know. So I mix my venues to maximize my results. So because of that, I get into I do the festivals. But to pull back to your question, I guess, because we didn't account or we didn't get to it, I'd say there's three types of black lizards. There may be more, but there's those of Anglo-Saxon colonization, so from British colony Caribbean, there's the Africans, there's the black Americans, and if you talk about the black Latin ones, I don't know if I could classify them because they tend to merge into with other Hispanics. So I don't know if they have that identity. So to game them would probably be the same as gaming a lighter Hispanic, because in those countries, I don't believe that they differentiate or they have a separate identity due to their racial history being different. So I can't classify them differently, but I would definitely say it's Black American, a Caribbean of British Caribbean, or if she's from UK or Toronto, she's gonna have that flavor anyway. And then there's the Africans.
Is that your list?
That would be my list. So it's like, let's say three. Those are the three categories that I'm gonna say in terms of
Not
what
in any
different type.
order or that order.
No, but we're talking about what different categories, right?
Okay, we know the categories, but I guess it was trying to I guess they were trying to pinpoint, our experiences.
My
Let me
experiences, my experiences have been with all of them. The methods to,
so out of yeah, let me ask you another question. I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Out of relationships with black lizards, which was the longest one you ever had?
I think it's probably like a Caribbean one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you told me. I guess we're allowed to say this. You have a thing for Bajan lizards, Barbadian lizards.
Yeah, I met, a few, and it always kind of went well, and I didn't realize, like, I never really had a bad clash, like, with Jamaicans sometimes, like, I meet a lot of Jamaicans, but we may fall out over weird stuff, where I'm like, I was even looking for an argument, but an argument happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not looking for an argument. Like, I might be like, yeah, no, I don't want to watch that, and then you know what I'm saying, and it just turns into something. It's not like I'm demanding. If someone's like, oh, what do you think of that? I'm like, nah, let's try something else, and then it spawns into something, and then moodiness. I'll just like, huh? But I had not met a lot of Bayesians, so when I started, I met a few Bayesians. I was like, wow, this is going really well. And then if I link it to what people say, they call it Little England. There's a high literacy level on the island, and they kind of look up to that British style. That's what I've heard. So I think all that kind of plays in favor. And I'm a well spoken, I think, at a certain level. So I've had good results with that particular demographic, definitely. And yeah, if I can find them where I'm at now, I could definitely go in, because I feel that that's my winning team. You know what I'm saying?
So you're down with Team Barbados.
Oh, definitely. I'm trying to get there. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'd like to go there and see how I fare.
Yeah, we gotta organize that. We gotta organize that.
Most
So,
deaf.
Archie had another question. I don't even know if this is even a question, but a statement. Um, Basically, you can't keep a hot girl because she realizes her value, and this seems to be a common thing, I guess. I mean, I think our answers are going to be the same, so I think I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, that just lends to inner game. A man should realize that his value is very high, and he should never feel that he has to keep a lizard, or if he's got one, that he's got to do whatever it takes to hold on to her. Because I also think that if you get into that mentality, you're gonna lose her, because she's gonna sense that level of desperation. And it's funny, but the psychology, they're attracted to your mentality of abundance. Once you've got that abundant mentality, they're gonna latch on. So a man shouldn't get into that mindset. Man should realize that his value just keeps on rising, and to not feel that you've got to hold on to any type of lizard. There's that saying that you find show me a lizard that a man loves or adores, and or no matter what she looks like, and I can show you a man that's tired of her, that's kicked her to the curb. So that's a mentality, that there's no such thing as this is the one you've got to keep. You know what I'm saying? So that question really, you know, speaks to inner game, and that one must have that abundance mentality. You know what I'm saying? You have to have it. I used to feel that way before, don't get me wrong. So I know where people are coming from, but regardless of which, one has to push that abundance. If you push that abundance mentality, it can't go wrong for you. It can't go wrong for you. And that's what you must have. Because if you have that singular mentality, that minimalist, I'm going to get this one, they feed off of it, and they will either, most likely subconsciously, that lizard will sabotage your whole situation. I'm saying most likely. Sometimes you may find a really nice lizard that's really down and so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? That actually looks good. You can always happen onto it. But I'm just saying that most likely they'll find that cloying, handcuffy mentality sickening, and they're going to sabotage it somehow. So the answer to that is no. Don't really switch up your mode. What would you?
Yeah, and if you think like that from the beginning, you're gonna lose her anyways. And I've actually have a funny story. I was dating this, what you could call it dating anyway, a Polish lizard. This is a couple of years ago. She was blonde, she was tall, and she was okay, whatever. I mean, I was just there for the hit. It was one of those 1 year mini relationship type things. And one day she looked at me and she said, "And what did she get?" She said, "I'm not." She asked me. She says, "Oh, you're not too impressed by me, are you?" And I said, "No, I'm not." You know what I mean? Because I think she thought that she was blonde, and Polish, and tall. I guess obviously guys, were into her or whatever, and I didn't really give her that satisfaction. You know what I mean? It was just wasn't on that tip. It was more of a sexual thing, and come and do my stuff and leave, and But she still stuck around even when I said that. Right? It didn't scare her off. Right? So you know.
Did you so you'd already smashed, yeah?
Yeah, this was like halfway into I guess you call it mini relationship and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, you've got the whole thing with the lizards is you've got to have this aloofness to them, to it, to the whole situation, and the air of mystery. You shouldn't they like puzzles, and once they know everything, they're just bored. They become bored. This is just their
Yeah,
nature. I don't even know if they can help it. You know what I'm saying? They like mystery. Look at the stuff they consume. Look at the shows they consume. Look at the literature. These books with all this and that going on, and the mystery man who they're trying to win his heart, and you know what I'm saying. So if you look at that and understand that, don't give him everything. Just give him a little bit, but hold back a little. You know what I'm saying? Once you upgrade what you've done, you might give them some old stuff and keep the new stuff back. So always, once you give them everything, they become bored, and they can sabotage it subconsciously, because they spend a lot of their times thinking about relationships, and they discuss it with their peers. You know what I'm saying? This stuff we're doing is new. They've been doing it for centuries, so they've got a big head start on you, and they can they can sabotage a relationship subconsciously, and it will look like you won't even know how it happened. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, the point there is just stay aloof. That's it.
definitely, definitely. And you find girls too; they'll be testing you from day one, and to see, I guess they're trying to test your frame, right? So, stupid things like they don't call you or text you back right away, all kind of tricks, right? Or they'll say certain things. They're trying to find your Achilles heel. I find. I don't know if you've experienced that, where you tell them something and then they'll use it against you. You tell them a weakness that you're scared of bunny rabbits or something like that, and next minute they'll make fun of you, or you ever find that? You ever had that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely, there's they're constantly really trying to figure you out. So you can hear it in snide ways or something like that. So it's always it's good to just have that mystery. So I've experienced that in different fashions. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not really an open type of person to them anyway, because I've just had experiences in the beginning, and I'm very quick to kind of retract from, if I feel someone has aired or tried to air me out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not like that, but the little piece that I've given that I don't mind giving, if I see it being aired in a certain way where it's not a positive fashion, I smile because I'm like, just as I thought. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how it goes.
Definitely, definitely. So, another theme that's been coming up, and a lot of guys, it seems like black guys too, they seem to be talking down to guys that have that thug image. And I don't know, I mean, I don't, me personally, I don't talk down to anybody. I mean, whether the guy's a dread or a thug or whatever, you do what you feel comfortable doing. And, you know, listen, not everybody can be the same, right? So, you're a product of your environment, of whatever. So, I mean, maybe some things I wear or some looks I have, people may not like or dislike. But, this whole category of a black man, nerd versus a thug thing. I mean, in terms of how to carve out a niche, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I think you just have to be like, not saying I don't know. I do know. You have to be this new entity. You know, like you can't be. In order to maximize, I think you have to be able to shapeshift a little bit. I've tried out different things. I didn't like the thug thing before because I I guess I was just raised not to really be on that. So I see people doing that. I mean, in the UK, they'd wear the latest kind of stuff. They used to wear Avirex back in the day, the Avirex jackets. They would have, gold bracelets or a thick chain piece on their neck. So that would be really, really the style, and pierced ear. The left ear would be pierced, and so on and so forth. So that was it. But I just didn't like. I wanted to do things on my own. I just felt that was me. But a friend of mine, he kind of put me onto something, and I switched it up for once. We wore fake jewelry. Basically, we wore costume jewelry. Like, I think,
Okay.
yeah, his mom had costume jewelry, so he said, "Bro, this is so and so," because we were very similar. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So we grew up in the ends, but we were not of the ends, pretty much.
Okay.
So we put the costume jewelry on, and the results were quite different. So it made me realize it was such a little tweak. So basically, in that, I'm saying one should be flexible. Like, one should try and. I'm not saying you got to change your style and switch it off, but
Well,
maybe.
well, sorry, sorry. I hate to cut you. Stop. What were the differences? You have to explain that.
I mean, it was they were,
Favorable, right?
yeah, they were very responsive. I was able to be bolder and get more responses in terms of. I remember the carnival. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but that was a big eye opener. And a lot of I think every guy that went there with me has always seen me different from there, because I didn't open lizards openly. There's some guys that be always on that, but I was more like, nah, I don't really want people to know what I'm up to. I kind of kept it on the DL. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
the carnival, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me show these guys. You know what I'm saying? Let me show them that they really don't know me.
Yeah.
So, I had, all the stuff was in place. Like, the alcohol was in my system. I had the fake jewelry on, all that kind of stuff. And as I said, I work out, so I had, what I'm saying, the cut off shirt, rah rah rah. So I'm just fitting that goon role, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, this was walking up, what I'm saying, walked up to this. She looked like she was a Blasian or something. She looked light, but her eyes kind of looked like, what I'm saying, maybe her her mom or her dad was Korean or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like somewhere
Okay.
from them ends. I just moved.
That's dope.
Yeah, I just moved to her. Like I was like, oh my days. I'm like, Ray, it's been a while since I seen you in it. Boom, and I moved in, and I'm just hugging her up, just you know what I'm saying. And she didn't push me away. Like, who are you? It's more like, okay, let him do what he's doing. I said, Ray, a long time I seen you doing it. I said, you know what, you're still looking good, you know. I said, yeah, I'll check you later, yeah. She's like, all right. And my friends are just looking at me with their eyes open, like, where you know her from? And I was like, I don't know who that was. I just moved in. So it's like the mask with Jim Carrey. When you put that mask on, you become this new person, or you know them films where they put something on and they just turn into something else, the Clark Kent or something like that. So
Yeah.
it made me able to do things that were a lot more brave. You know, I saw a lizard, and another lizard. I'm talking to one. I saw next one. I put my hand in her bum, and she was just like, she tapped me gently and said, you know, I don't like when guys just put their hand on my bum like that.
Yeah.
But that was it. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, what you doing? You fucking put your hand on my, you know what I'm saying? Because the goal, they don't know. You know, thugs just swing on people. Thugs, you're like, we trying to, pow. You know what I'm saying? So I
Exactly.
guess they're aware of that. But the point I'm making is that it's just interesting, that power that you get from it. So that's why I think it's good to be flexible. So, I mean, in this era, I can't really say that someone should change their look like that, but you know, switch your mentality up and just if you have that inner game, you can come to them on a certain level. You can talk to them on a certain degree, and it's more of a mentality rather than that look. If you can't do the look, have the mentality. If they're bullshitting, cut them off. And they might be like, Rare, you look goofy, but you seem to be about it. You know what I'm saying? Because not all them rappers, they don't all look like G's. Jay-Z looks like, you know what I'm saying, a camel. I'm not knocking him. He's been very. But if you look at him, I was looking at him today, a rap. I was like, this guy looks like, you know what I'm saying, the camel on a cigarette pack. But Jay Z got girls because he felt like he was the man. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. He's got that
He's got that
thing.
Brooklyn, like, you know what I'm saying? I get it. So people are like, oh shit, you look like a camel, but you moving like you the
Yeah.
man. You know what I'm saying? So I
Exactly.
think it's more of a mentality. So if you have that mentality, you can switch through roles. Just because you look like a nerd doesn't mean that you have to behave and approach like a nerd. And that's really what I'm saying that the new type of black guy should be.
Yeah, it's funny. I've kind of done the same thing. I mean, we've grown up, right? We've been through different eras, new wave, house music, and I've been through, I guess, hip hop and all this kind of stuff. So for me, I guess back in the day and where I grew up, I mean, I went to a high school that was very preppy, shall we say? So if you had I think Biggie raps about it. He couldn't afford with an alligator on his shirt and all this kind of stuff, right? And I've been to that kind of high school where if you had an alligator on your shirt, you were in, and if you didn't, you were out, type of thing. So for me, I found as a black person, I've done the same thing. Whereas I have probably had about three pairs of Timberlands, but then Timberlands kind of became played out in my for me anyways, and I switched up to like Red Wing boots. I still wear Dickies. I like the Dickies look with the shirt. And maybe with a pair of Converse, I guess what's like the West Coast guy, the game, he rocks that look. It's a clean look. I think it looks sharp, and I've gotten good feedback with that. And Dickies, of course, you can buy Dickies for like $20 Canadian or US, right? They're cheap, right? But it looks good. And with you, I've experimented with jewelry, like a bracelet or a chain around the neck, and I think things like that. Girls will always point out, they'll address that, right? It's a nice chain, or we like that bracelet, or whatever. You can fabricate some story about that, but I tend to, I guess on weekends I like to keep it casual because I don't want to be put into any kind of box, but when they see me like this, and then I can throw on a English cut suit or whatever, kind of keeps them on their toes, and they think, whereas a lot of, I guess, black guys, I'm just generalizing here, to have this sort of one-dimensional look. They just wear Jordans, and they wear like the Nike tracksuit, and you know they'll wear that to a club, or they live in that. That's them, right? So for them. Yeah, I like to. Yeah, like you know, you mix it up. You know, you put on the costume jewelry, and it made you feel different, and you know, you took on a different persona, and it probably suited you, right?
Yeah, just one always likes favorable results. A lot of guys are going out to try and get lizards, and I felt a bit self-conscious when I had it on, but the reaction to them, it's like it's like they gave me 50% or 60, and all I had to do was finish off. It's like the you know someone says my legs are open, and all you have to do is put your, and then you finish off the sentence. So they've already completed the sentence. They've already done most of the sentence. All you've got to do is finish it off. Whereas without certain stuff, you've got to create the entire sentence and finish it off yourself. So you've got more work to do. So that's kind of what I found. I was like, Rare, you've already spotted me or sponsored me all these letters and words. All I've got to do is finish it off, and that's what I've just found doing that fake urban look was. You know what I'm saying? So it's really it was an eye opener, man. Such a little tweak, which is why a lot of guys will just, what I'm saying, they once they get their money, they're really looking into that because they just have to play the part that's been carved, the path that's been carved for them by the numerous amount of thugs before them. So yeah, I guess guys shouldn't really hate. I guess some of the nerds have felt, you know, um, I guess singled out or left out, during their high school days, and that's why the resentment has come because most thugs have a limit, or they have a peak, or not a peak, but there's only so far a thug can go. Usually they're the man in middle school, they're the man in high school, maybe if they go college in America, if they play American football or basketball, if they're just dealers there. But after that, that's pretty much it because they can only go so far. So some guys will hate because the thing with a thug is, or them hood guys, is that they just do what they do. They don't think. They don't need to really think. They just come out and just be about it, and then they get results. While some guys are texting the lizard, calling the lizard, and meanwhile, saying Tyrone with the Tims and bare tattoos and jewelry is running that down and passing it over to his boys for that second hit, innit?
Definitely,
So
definitely.
yeah.
Totally agree with you, mon ami. Mon ami. Hey, did we get any listeners from France? Maybe we can parlez-vous français one of these days, yeah?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't believe I saw it. I did a little statistical look up on that, but I didn't gather that, so no. But they speak French in Switzerland. I think I saw Switzerland, so it's the same,
Definitely.
almost the same. So what's your take on advanced game?
Advanced game.
Yeah.
Advanced game. If I look at the guys that I think have advanced game, the big thing they have is energy, high energy. I guess the famous Bruce Lee line, they move like water, adapt to what, take the shape of any environment. They just have the right thing to say to any type of girl. If it's a if it's a no, they move on to sometimes to their friend. They move on to a group of girls. They don't take rejection personally. Very confident. They believe they can get any girl, and if a girl's not about it, then on to the next one. They even in Toronto, a few guys I hang with, they have the very abundant mentality. One of my close friends, he's traveled all over the world, Asia, Latin America, Europe, Dubai, and game girls. He's got a hustle on. He doesn't always give them the straight story. Either he's this or he's that, or he's a businessman or whatever. I mean, you don't have to, outright lie, but a little white lie here and there. And he's an exciting guy. He's a fun guy to be with, right? So, and I use him as an example of advanced game. If I get down, and I try not to get down. Yes, I'm in Toronto, but we're here. We make the best of it. We go out. We have a good time. We go here. We go there. And yeah, that would be my definition. How about yourself?
Would you say that advanced game is that the percentages reflect that? When I say percentage, like if you see a guy that goes out and talks to 20 lizards before he gets one, as opposed to a guy that goes out the same period of time. Let's say you go out with two friends. One of them talks to maybe two a night. The other one goes talks to 20. Gets one every night. He goes out. He gets one because he always keeps going till he gets one. The other one more kind of two here, two there, and maybe gets one a week. Would you say that the one who gets one every night has a higher level of game than the one who snipes here and there? And bearing in mind that their confidence is just the same, their mood is the same, the energy, like they don't, like the one who talks to two doesn't look like he's there complaining. He's just like, nah, man, I don't really see anything I like here. And you can tell he's upbeat and he's cool with it. So how do you how do you classify? Do you classify on that person got a result, or do you classify on percentage wise?
I think it's percentage wise. I think there's not many guys that I know or I've seen that can go out and, you know, continue girl after girl after girl. I mean, sometimes, I guess maybe 2 or 3 years ago, you went out and got one number that was good enough. But now, in these days, you have to, I think you almost have to get three numbers a night. And sometimes, I don't know if we've talked about this, but sometimes even getting a number's not enough. Sometimes you have to push for an after party, or you just have to push for that that moment. People are busy, girls work during the week and they're tired and stuff. Saturday night they go out, they want to have a good time, they shave their legs, they do whatever, shave their underarms, shave their privates and stuff like that. They're out, they're having a good time, they're with some fun guys that they like, they find attractive, and hey, why not, right? These are liberal times. So this is what I sort of learned from them. We just go nonstop. And fortunately, at my age, I can't go every weekend because some nights it's 4 or 5 o'clock, or in the morning, or some nights you've ended up in a Chinese restaurant and you're talking to these girls or whatever. So it takes a lot of energy. And like I said, energy is the I think that you and I are probably a bit laid back, whereas these guys are just go 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 go, right? So if they go to this club one weekend, then they might go to a different club. And it's I guess it's a game, right? It's a game. So with me, the game doesn't change, or the game's always changing. So we're trying to adapt, right? So you said at the beginning of the podcast you went to, was it all white affair? You're just trying to take advantage, or what's the word, when people have stocks and they diversify. Yeah, you're trying to diversify your talents and stuff like that. So with me right now, I mean, Toronto is tough, but I mean, I can go to suburbia, or I can go half an hour outside the city, and it's like I'm in a different town. Coming up now, we're coming up to beginning of a school year, right? So maybe check out university, talent in certain of these small towns. I mean, I'm sure you have universities and colleges down by where you are. You could maybe pass off as a professor or a teacher. You're always trying different tricks, right? Different tricks. You're always thinking, right? For example, I was off this week and I was at Starbucks, and I'm actually starting to think that working 9 to 5 is the biggest cop block there is, because I don't know what it is, but this week, using Starbucks Wi-Fi during the day around lunchtime, I go to different Starbucks, and I don't know if it's the business girls or the girls are off, but I've seen a lot of talent, a lot of talent. It's summer, the weather's nice. I don't know if you've ever done that, but maybe give it a shot, middle of the daytime. And girls seem to be out and about, and of course, they always come into Starbucks for their frappuccinos or whatever drink of the month they have at Starbucks. So, and in the daytime, it's a lot easier, I guess, to approach, or people's attitudes are down as opposed to nighttime. But any thoughts on that? 9 to 5 being a cop block?
Um, yeah, there's different, different time frames that one can go in. Even if you look at clubbing, a lot of people aim for the weekend, but you get the certain people that go during the week, and definitely my crack for Toronto, the cracking the code to some degree, where I was like, you know what, it's not that bad, was starting to hit places during the week. Thursday, Wednesday, I start to get better results. You get the university lizards that are obviously not working. So, I mean, if their lecture starts late the next day, they don't have to be in there from 8 or 9, so they can go out the night before. So I met some decent lizards, and the Bayesian that I was met on a Thursday. You know what I'm saying? And that was almost, I'd say, SNL, but I felt good about the interaction. So
Okay.
how did I happen upon that? I think I asked someone. I don't know if it was the forum or someone I asked, but I was going to certain clubs. I hated them on the weekend because, as you got all the silly 905ers there. You know what I'm saying? Just there, and I can't be bothered with them. And I look at them, and my friends are excited, and I just felt like, where you guys from, man? Like the way you guys are getting hyped, like you never seen, what I'm saying, like lizards before, and I was just like, I'm not gonna do it. Like, I just don't feel the interest to shuck and jive for them. But yeah, the Thursday was definitely felt a better energy because you actually had genuine locals there. So to add or to answer your question, it's definitely when you operate outside of the normal time parameters, you definitely get good results. You know what I'm saying? You do the same thing as the others, you're going to get the same as the others, unless you do a lot more than what the others do. But sometimes that little tweak can get outstanding results. So I definitely would agree with you, and that was my crack for that particular city.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, I wish I could get out. Well, I am trying to sort of get out of this 9 to 5 cubicle IT thing. Thursday night is still a hot night. Another hot night here is Sunday nights. They call it industry night. So girls that are bartenders, waitresses, and I guess girls that work in the industry, as an adult industry, strippers and all that, they tend to party at certain places. I know in the UK, I had a friend who was sort of hanging with models, and I guess shout out to Distant Light. He might be able to add more to this, but I know models tend to like to party is I think Monday or Tuesdays because, to your point, they wanted to avoid the 905. For people that aren't familiar with the 905, that is people that live in the suburbs that come into the city every weekend, and yeah, models go to certain events. So again, just those little tweaks. If you have your own business and you can go out during the week, it could be more fruitful, and then the weekends you can execute your dates or what have you, right? So
Yeah.
something to ponder. So looks like, yeah, man, these time went quickly. Any final statements to add?
No, I think we've covered the points and added to it, kind of fleshed out, a few things. But no, that's pretty much. I think we've covered everything to detail there. If there's any additional clarity that's required or any additional questions that you lot have, you can definitely email at momalicious@gmail.com. That's MOMALIS as in Sierra HUS at gmail.com, or just hit us up at Twitter, all the portals I've mentioned, Rude Boy has access to. So if you've got questions to him, post them to there as well. Or search for us on Twitter. It's Lizard Hunters 13, and follow us. And yeah, tweet a message or DM a message, and we'll definitely add to it. Or if there's something you want us to cover or points that you felt that you would like us to flesh out, that you know a lot to, definitely put that on, and we'll be happy to elaborate or address
Yeah,
that.
definitely, definitely. And in terms of, I guess probably next month we'll get back on the rotation with the guests. I've put out a APB. Usually a guy that watching too much Hawaii Five O, you know. Yeah, a guy that I look up to, a well-traveled guy. I'll keep him anonymous for now, but him and his friend done some interesting traveling. So I've got a hold of the one guy. He was down for it. I know he's a busy man, and the other guy, I haven't got an answer yet. Through this guy, I'm trying to reach him. Well, you know, I can say the name anyways. International Swagger. You remember him? Guy that leads the way. So we're trying to get a hold of him. I know where he is, but I don't want to divulge the man's business on the podcast. Carl Winston was trying to coordinate a time with him to come on. He's a well-traveled guy. Right now, I believe he's in the Philippines, so it's a bit of a 12-hour difference in time. So we're trying to coordinate that with him. Carl Winston, if you're listening, we're still looking out for you. Archie, we want to bring back, talk about, I guess, more of the fashion, and everybody wants to hear more from Archie. Archie was quite an interesting cat, and Traveler Kai was one of my favorites because we actually had great conversation before we even had well, we started recording the podcast. I think we spoke for about almost an hour, and finally we had to say, well, you know, let's get this on tape. So Traveler Kai is an intelligent guy. He's got a different perspective as well. So yeah, in the future, you know, we're gonna keep it rolling, and yeah, that's all for now. You've got our details. Reach out to us, and yeah, this is Rude Boy signing out. Moma, last word is yours.
And this is Moma signing off. Thank you, listeners, and peace.
Peace.
All right.